if you're interested in a subject, if you think it's cool, if you think it's going to be interesting to study, um, and you like doing it, you like spending time with it, then pursue it. Then absolutely pursue it. And there is no reason on earth that you will not succeed at that. If you're willing to spend time on it, it needs to be two things. It needs to be something that you're interested in, and something that you really can spend hours working on, solving problems, on playing with lab equipment, whatever it is that takes your fancy. If you love it, do it, and pursue it until until you work out whether that's really what you want to do long term. But there's a lot of jobs out there, and in many different areas that can use your skills and your background. And I think we would love to have you, basically. So I would say pursue anything that you're interested in, and there will be spaces for you. Enjoy the ride, because if you're so stressed, you actually can't actually enjoy where you are. And I think, yeah, I tell everyone to get a lot less stressed. And it's hard to do when you don't really know what your future is going to look like, which you don't when you enter academia. You literally don't even know which country you're going to end up in, often. So it's a difficult thing, but I think in retrospect, I wish I'd stressed less. One of the things I realized was happening with me, because I was different from almost anybody else, especially when I became a postdoc. There were almost no women who looked like me in astronomy, at least when I was a postdoc, and maybe just one or two. And what you found was that people would be very nice to you, but they would focus on your difference. So when I would give a talk or presentation on my research, or I'd be talking to people about my research, the conversation would inevitably shift to where's your accent from, who are you, what background are you from, and less on the science. And it took me, I'm ashamed to say, far too many years to realize that I just wasn't having the scientific conversations of the majority we're having, just because that's not the questions people ask me, right? So they weren't really interested in a sense of the science that I was presenting. They're more interested in what circumstances had led me to be in that room. And that, while they were perfectly nice, there wasn't anything nasty about it, I realized I wasn't getting mentored in the same way. And so I had to start forcing science conversations. And I think as women, as people of an obvious ethnic minority background, you may find yourself doing that. I have talked to women since, who, some of them who have families, have kids. Invariably, they find that their colleagues will ask them about how their 3 kids are doing, rather than talk to them about their science. So they've become very skilled at turning the conversation back to their science, and it's the price of being a minority in a field, basically. It has advantages in the sense that you have more visibility, you stand out, there aren't that many of you, so people are much more likely to remember you. So long as you're good, they'll remember you for good reasons, and you'll be remembered more than somebody who comes from what the majority population in your field looks like. So, but I would say be aware of what kind of conversations are being had, and whether you're having similar conversations or not, with people about the work that you're doing. So that's possibly the biggest difference that I noticed. The other thing is you have to develop a bit of a tough skin, because people will say things to you that they don't think are annoying or offensive, but really not acceptable. And that does happen more often than one would like. And yeah, but if you like what you're doing, then you plow through. The good thing is now that the astronomy community, the space community, academia generally, is realizing that the way things used to work is not the way things should work. And so there is a lot more awareness of what appropriate conversations are, what inappropriate conversations are. And so there's codes of conduct, there are committees, there are people that will back you up if you want to push back on unacceptable behavior. Sad to say, unacceptable behavior still exists. This isn't very motivating, is it? I feel like I need to change that answer. Really think about what you'd like your life to look like. So yes, it's really exciting and interesting to work in astronomy, in space missions, and all of these things. But at the same time, really think about what you want your life to look like, and try to plan that part of it as well, because I think that can be lost when you're on this ride. Good to talk to somebody that you can trust, anybody that you can trust at your university, wherever. I found when I was a PhD student in St. Andrews, I would often talk to the postdocs there about what they did. If I felt nervous about something I was going to be presenting, if it's a poster or a talk or something, I would usually run it by them as well to get just feedback, even if they weren't in my area. And it gave me more confidence in talking to people. The other thing I would say is, if you've been working on something, and you're doing your PhD in something, for instance, or you're doing your final year project in something, you know more about that area than almost, well, 99% of astronomers out there, or physicists out there, depending on your area. And so I would take heart in that, even though it feels like you don't know a lot at that point. Certainly I felt like that. You actually know way more than a lot of other people, at least in that specific area. And then it's worth thinking about how you use that knowledge. Like who would benefit from your knowledge, and then maybe start a conversation there. And if you're uncomfortable speaking to professors or postdocs, you can speak to other students. Students are always creating, actually students are really good at networking usually. So reach out to students in that other place and maybe connect with the students first, and get used to talking to them. And that may be the way in. And if you're not comfortable approaching and offering to give a talk to the whole department, for instance.